Woo! What is going on, everybody? You got Matty Brolic here, and I am back for round 3 of the Pokemon Central Cash Tournament Series. Now, if you guys did not witness the first 2 videos, this is basically a tournament that was started by the Facebook group called Pokemon Central. Has tons of good players, a lot of high-level Smogon tournament players, and I could leave the link in the description if you guys have any interest in joining, because there's just so many good players there that you could get to meet, talk to, just about, you know, general Pokemon stuff, whatever really. And there's a lot of different competitions going on, especially when Smogon tournaments kind of are, you know, not as common at the moment, or not as prevalent, so then they'll have like lots of tournaments to kind of make up for that. So definitely a good way to practice and play against some tremendous players. Now, this was a cash tournament that started out with 64 people, I believe, and it is a single elimination best of 3 tournament. I won my first 2 rounds. Last round we beat Wellu, an SPL Smogon Premier League player, and now we get none other than the tournament favorite. We got Zamrock, my my good buddy that I love to imitate so much, and he was seeded number 1 for this tournament. You know, there aren't really seeds for these tournaments, but NJMP was making rankings, and he put Zamrock at number 1 because he has just so much tournament experience, and he just always tries hard. So he's not just gonna bring random stuff and just go along with it. He'll actually do his best to win, especially because there's money on the line. So I didn't bother scouting or anything like that. I like a lot of the teams that I built. They're pretty creative, and definitely could catch someone like Zamrock, who knows the meta really well, off guard, because they're just innovative and just not ordinary. So there's a word that I'm definitely forgetting at the moment, but yeah, I knew that my teams would definitely have, unless he just really has a good matchup in terms of the Pokemon he brings, I knew my teams would have a good element of surprise against his that could really catch him off guard. So first here, I decided to bring a hyper-offensive team with Elite Hazard Skarmory, things like DD, Flying Z-Move, Supersonic Strike, Salamence, Protean Spikes Greninja, a Terrain Extender, Stall Breaking Tapu Lele with like Taunt, Psyshock, stuff like that. But the Terrain Extender I'll explain in a minute. Scarf Excadrill, just needed a check for like electric types, mainly Coco. This team was built a while ago, so it definitely could be updated for the current metagame, but it was pretty cool at the time. And something that can keep hazards off, which is nice. And it really needs to keep hazards off, and it does its job pretty well, because this last Pokemon here, Pheromosa, the Broken Mon, actually is a Sash, Focus Sash Quiver Dance set. Now, a lot of people have been using Quiver Dance fighting Z, because you can get up to +1 with the Quiver Dance, both special attack and speed, and then if you get the kill with Focus Blast, Z Focus Blast rather, then you usually go up to +2 special attack, because usually it's a modest set. So with that, then Pheromosa is just so powerful. So, and you also don't need to worry about the Focus Blast miss, but Focus Sash is really cool just because Pheromosa really has trouble setting up. And with the Focus Sash, especially with a hyper-offensive team like this, if you weaken your opponent's team, then you get a pretty much free turn of setup if you can keep hazards off. And then there's a good chance Pheromosa is going to get a kill at +1 with its dual stabs, and then I have Ice Beam on this team. So anyway, we will get into the battle. Seems like Zamrock brought a Zardwai offensive team, which is pretty cool. You don't see Serperior too often, so this was definitely interesting, because Zardwai at the time was not that common. Now it's very common. So we'll just get into the match, as he leads with Charizard and I lead with the obvious Skarmory. As here, he makes a little bit of a misplay. He goes right for Solar Beam, thinking that what's it called? He just wanted to break my Sturdy so he can KO me the next turn with Fire Blast, but Custap Berry isn't released in Gen 7, so I can't run Custap Skarm. That would benefit from him going for Fire Blast first turn. So, yeah, him going for the Solar Beam there was not too much of a misplay, because either way, like, if I didn't have red card, it's not too big of a deal, because he could just Fire Blast the next turn anyway. But I do have the red card, which sends out the Charizard, which is pretty cool. But it sends him into Excadrill, which is kind of unfortunate, because here I get up my rocks, and I see that it's a Mold Breaker Excadrill, but I don't know what the set is. I don't know if it's going to be some type of like Sandstorm, like SD. I don't know what it's going to be. exactly. So here I'm just going to go into my Salamence in case he is like a really offensive Excadrill and he just wants to... Actually, no, wait, what am I saying? No, I go into my Salamence because I'm pretty sure he's going to spin here. But I just kind of want to scout the set and see what this Excadrill could do. It could be Scarfed, but I'm just really not sure at this point because he does have a Landorus on his team as well. He's got a T-Tar, which is kind of weird to see Mold Breaker Drill with T-Tar. So either way, I'm going to go into my Salamence here. As he does just go right for the Rapid Spin. As here, he goes right into his Tyranitar. As I predict that, and I go right into my Greninja. As him switching out first reveals to me that he is a Scarf Drill. So now, here I decide to go right for a Hydro Pump as he goes into Tapu Fini. And now, because he sees that I'm Protean, I know that he's going to expect the Gunk Shot here. So because he's going to expect the Gunk Shot, I'm going to go for the Hydro Pump again. Because I know that if he Moonblasts here, he will not be able to knock me out, which is nice. And if he goes into his Excadrill, I will OHKO this thing very easily. And that will be quite nice for me to get that Scarf Drill out of the way because it outspeeds everything on my team unboosted. So I'm going to go for the Hydro Pump here, make the really hard read, knowing that Zamrock would probably make a pretty good play like that. And I get it right. And I missed the Hydro Pump. So that really kind of sucks because that was definitely a good play. And this Greninja is such a big threat to his team that knocking out that Excadrill right there would have been a pretty big deal, you know? So that's definitely unfortunate. As now he switches out and I'm forced to go into my Skarmory here. So he makes a good double there because now I'm in a bad spot. I just need to let my Skarm go down and I have no hazards up on the field. So that's pretty crappy for me, kind of a bad start. As here I have to go into my Salamence. I'm going to try to pressure him a little bit. As I'm just going to go right for the DD here and see how much damage I can get off on this Tyranitar. As I go right for the Earthquake, and I do quite a bit here, but he misses his Stone Edge. So that's unfortunate because that definitely would have knocked me out. You know, Hacks is just unfortunate. Hacks for Hacks, I guess, with the Hydro Pump miss, but that was definitely pretty unfortunate. Even though Salamence isn't that great against his team, it's just the fact that I'm at +1 is the real issue here because now I can... I believe I go right for the Supersonic Strike or the Dragon Claw. I believe I go for as he switches out into his Landorus as I go right for the Dragon Claw. That does good damage. As now he switches back out into his Tyranitar as I go for the Supersonic Strike because this will definitely kill the Landorus from here. It'll do a ton to Finny if he tries to go into that. And it should kill the Tyranitar from here. But we actually get a very, very low roll, and we just barely don't KO it. So that is kind of annoying, as now it allows him to pivot back into Lando once more, as I could just go right for the Dragon Claw here. And I am weakening the Landorus, which is nice. But here he goes into his Tapu Fini as I just go for another Dragon Claw. I don't really have much of a play there. As now I switch out my Salamence just to keep it as sack fodder, as I can go into Tapu Lele. I can easily eat up a Moonblast. But he gets the special attack drop, which is also very unfortunate because now I'm just not nearly as much of a threat to his team. As I go right for the Psy Shock as he goes into Tyranitar. Good play just because he gets a little bit of chip damage on me and could scout to see if I'm Scarf or not. But I do reveal that I am not Scarfed. So here he goes into his Excadrill. As now I just stay in, knowing that he would most likely go for the Rock Slide here. And if he did go for... if he did go for something like Earthquake or Iron Head, if he goes for Earthquake, then I could go into Salamence and potentially set up again. If he goes for Iron Head, then I can go into Greninja and just get a kill. As, unfortunately, as I go for the HP Fire to get some damage off, he gets the Rock Slide flinch. So, definitely not getting very lucky here. The Stone Edge miss was huge, no doubt about it. But now, these last few turns have been pretty unfortunate for me. What's it called? Especially with Hyper Offense, just a little bit of hacks here and there could really just throw off your game plan, so this is kind of unfortunate. But I realize that there is a way that I could still win with my Quiver Dance Pheromosa, so I'm not going to give up just yet. As here, I decide to keep my Lele because I really need sack fodder, as I can go into my Drill easily. He misses the Rock Slide, but that's 4 times resisted, so that's going to do very, very little. As now, he goes for another Rock Slide to see what I'm going to go for, and I flinch as I go for the Earthquake. You know, whatever, if I Earthquake here, then he goes right into Landorus or Charizard just gets a free kill. But either way, I just really wanted this Excadrill gone because Greninja just goes in on his team if this Excadrill is gone. So crazy, really crazy, as now he switches out and goes into his Serperior, as now I go for the Iron Head instead because I figured he would switch out and he wouldn't risk his Excadrill this on the second turn. Maybe he was, thinking that I may double out on the previous turn to catch something like his Landorus T with my Greninja, but I didn't do that, so I knew he was going to switch out here, so I decided to go for the Iron Head because it's just the best middle ground. If he goes into Lando, it would knock it out because it's only at 20%. If he goes into Serp, it could potentially 2-hit KO, which it looks like it will. As here, I'm expecting he's going to go into Zard, but just in case he doesn't, I go for another Iron Head here. As I actually get a crit, which is kind of nice. It doesn't force him to Roost, but I believe he does go for the Roost here. As I go into Mence because I can live a Fire Blast. Had he gone for it, I believe. Mence is pretty bulky. I believe that it's probably a roll, knowing that Latios takes like around 50% from Fire Blast. It was probably a roll, but I would think that Salamence could live it, especially if he was timid. So I go right into my Mence here because there was a decent chance he would Roost, and if he didn't Roost and went for Fire Blast, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world because I could just have my Mence in. I could either go for Dragon Dance or click Dragon Claw for some damage on the Zard or something. So here, I'm just going to Dragon Dance up as he goes into his Tapu Fini because now I know I can get some Earthquake damage off on this. Actually, no, I think I go for Fly. Yeah, I go for Fly because I know I can get a little bit more damage than Earthquake. So here, I'm just going to go right for the Fly. He's going to stay in, and that reveals to me I believe that he's physically defensive because a +1 Salamence's Fly is still really strong, and Tapu Fini just barely took over 50 from that. So here I go into my Tapu Lele as I could just click Psyshock here and get a kill. There's no way he's going to want to risk his Excadrill. As here he goes right into his Charizard, as that reveals to me that he probably is timid, and he does outspeed me, so that means he definitely is timid, as he goes right for the Solar Beam. As here I go into my Excadrill, and I'm pretty much forced to go for the Rock Slide here. I don't really have much of a choice, as he goes into his Tapu Fini, and now because I do go for Rock Slide, I believe he could just go right into his Excadrill, as he does do just that. Now here, I know that what's it called? I know that he could. I'm trying to think what I do here. I'm trying to think. Okay, yeah. So here I need to go into my Greninja because my only chance at winning this game is with Quiver Dance Pheromosa. So here I'm gonna go into my Excadrill. As if he goes for Iron Head, which I feel like his best play there probably would have been Earthquake. I did kind of expect the Iron Head just because, maybe he was worried that it was a Scarf Pheromosa, which is actually a pretty big threat to his team. And if I don't have a Sash, then Iron Head's just going to kill me, or any type of Pheromosa really. Even like Bandit could really go right through his team, because if I just get a high jump kick kill, then most of his team could just kind of drop to Pheromosa. I think Zard may die to like a +1 high jump kick. So, what's it called? So he goes right for the Iron Head here because he really does not want to risk my Pheromosa not being Focus Sash, because Focus Sash really isn't common. So, I go into my Greninja, and because he does go for the Iron Head, I can go back into my Excadrill, and I can just click Earthquake, because if I do click Earthquake, then I can allow his Landorus to come in, which I actually want, because the fact that he has shown his Tyranitar to be a bulky set, I'm almost positive that he's Stealth Rock Tyranitar, and from the damage he was taking from my Salamence, I know that he's offensive Landorus. He could have rocks, but I know that he's offensive, so I'm figuring that he's probably going to be Rock Polish with the Z move. So because of that, that actually gives me a perfect opportunity to go into my Pheromosa here. As even if he did Earthquake or go for like a Supersonic Sky Strike, I would live with the Focus Sash, and I did expect him to go for Rock Polish. So here, I know he's probably just going to attack me as he goes right for the Earthquake, and with that crit, it actually does knock me down to my Sash, but it doesn't matter because I just need to get off this Ice Beam, as now I'm at +1 special attack, as I could just go for another Ice Beam, does a little over 50% to Charizard, which now allows Greninja to do what I was trying to do with it all game, and just break his team in every way, as here I have the HP Electric, Stab boosted with the Protean, as both Tapu Fini and Charizard will go down to that. Now that was a sick game, because like, both of our teams I thought were pretty cool. We both played really well in my opinion. I think my team may have had a pretty decent matchup, considering that through all that hacks I was still able to win. But yeah, I thought that was a really good game, just really aggressive and effective plays on both ends. There were really no misplays outside of maybe Zamrock's like first turn Solar Beam, forgetting that there's no Custap in Gen 7, but that's just kind of like a brain fart with mechanics. Not everyone knows that, so especially earlier on, not everyone knew that. So that was a sick game in my opinion. So now we'll move on to game 2. As I brought here, as you're going to see, my probably, at least in my top 3 favorite teams that I've built in Sun and Moon so far. Like, this is one of my go-to teams. Like, it's just so much fun, and it's legitimately really good, except I don't use Zydog on this team anymore. I use actual Zygarde, like Spadef Coil, and it's much better than it was just with the Zydog. But even with Zydog, it actually is pretty good. It just puts a lot of pressure on opposing teams. So it's got Silvally, which is my second favorite Pokemon in Gen 7, second to Incineroar, and I have Porygon Z, which I'm sure most of you know exactly what that does with Z conversion. So really, really interesting team. Scarferamosa with Rapid Spin, Taunt, Calm Mind, Tapu Fini. So it's pretty anti-stall because we have Porygon Z isn't really a stall breaker, but it definitely pressures stall if you play around it correctly. Zydog does pressure stall a decent amount, but Zygarde pressure stall even more, and then Taunt, Calm Mind, Tapu Fini really pressure stall quite a bit as well. So really, really fun team. I love Silvally, and you'll see what type it is a little bit later. It isn't normal, just as a spoiler alert. So here, I lead with my Scarferamosa, as I could just go for a very free U-turn, getting some solid damage off on that Rotom Wash, going into my Tapu Fini, knowing that he'd probably go for either Hydro Pump or Will-O-Wisp, and if he did go for Volt Switch, it's not the biggest deal in the world because Tapu Fini could easily eat it up. So I catch him there on the Will-O-Wisp, as now I am going to go right into my Zydog, because if he goes for Hydro Pump, it'll do a decent amount, but Banded Thousand Arrows would still kill him, knock him out from here. So if he goes for Volt Switch or Will-O-Wisp here, both of those I will be immune to. So I do catch him on the Volt Switch, which is great, as now I have a lot of momentum. I could scout with the Landorus set is, because that's most definitely coming in now, and just get some damage off on it, which is nice, as I get very little damage off, but that does reveal to me that he is physically defensive. As here I can go into my own Landorus, as he goes for the knockoff. Now, he knocks off my Yachi Berry, as I could just go right for the Stealth Rocks here, I believe, as he goes into his Rotom Wash. As now I'm actually going to go right back into my Tapu Fini. Like I said, I'm just not too worried about getting Volt Switched on, as I catch him with the Will-O-Wisp once more. Now, I'm really in a solid spot, as here I go for the Calm Mind, knowing that he's probably going to go for the Hydro Pump, predicting my Zygarde to come in, as I catch him with that as well, and I can get some serious damage off on this Rotom with the Moonblast, doing almost 60%, as that Volt Switch only does 26 to me. So that is amazing. As here he goes into Tapu Lele, as now the unfortunate part about this is if this is like a Life Orb or Specs Tapu Lele, then something is dying, because I do have a Steel type, which I was going to reveal it later, but it is my Silvally. But Silvally cannot switch into Specs Tapu Lele, only Scarf. So here I'm just going to stay in to scout the set, because if he is Specs, the only move that could kill me is Psyshock. So I'm going to stay in here just to scout the set, because I realize my Tapu Fini, even though it is pretty good against his team, is kind of the least useful here. So, and everything else just puts in so much work that I would like to scout the set by just staying in. So I do just that, as the Psyshock knocks me out. So that definitely tells me that he is Specs. As here I go into my Silvally Steel, as he goes into his Rotom Wash, as I just go for the Flash Cannon here in case he wanted to stay in, because that Psychic would still be a 2-hit KO if he did want to stay in, and I know that if his Rotom comes in, I can knock him out with the Draco Meteor on the following turn, as that is exactly what I do. I love that Silvally gets Draco Meteor, because even though it's super weak, especially when it's not stab, it's just a pretty powerful move that hits a lot of things neutrally. So it's a lot stronger than something like Fire Blast. It's got 20 base power more, which is pretty solid, and better accuracy and stuff. It really is a decent move, even if it's not stab on Silvally. So pretty cool, as I was able to drop a Draco with a Steel type and non-Dragon type to knock out that Rotom. As here he goes into his Alakazam, as I can go right into my Landorus here. This thing is just going to destroy something. That Psychic easily knocks me out, and my Landorus, I really did not need it too much anymore. As here I can go right into my Pheromosa and just easily click U-turn. There's nothing he could really do, as he goes right into Klefki, as I could just go right into my Zygarde 10%, as now this is where Zamrock actually does make a costly misplay. He goes for the Magnet Rise, which would be a very good play, because if Thousand Arrows didn't work the way it did, then I would be in a really bad spot because I'm choice bended and I have to switch out as he can get up some spikes and whatnot, and something needs to get T-waved on my team, which would be very unfortunate. But because 1,000 Arrows does work the way it does, and Zamrock didn't know this, I just get 1,000 Arrows off and knock him out easily through the Magnet Rises. Here he goes into his Latios, and I'm expecting this thing to be Choice Scarfed as he goes for a Scarfed Earthquake, which is interesting. As I mean, I don't know that it's Scarfed yet for sure, but I do find out that it is later on. So Silvally, being the pretty well-rounded Pokemon that it is, nice and bulky, does take this very easily, and now the game is kind of sealed up because I could just click Parting Shot and Porygon Z sets up on any one of these things and just wins. So here he goes for another Earthquake as I go for the Parting Shot and switch right into my Porygon Z, as there is nothing he could do anymore, as I could just go for the Z conversion. Even though the Latios could outspeed me, it can't trick me. And the only way it could knock me out is with like a crit Draco Meteor or something like that, as I turn into the Ghost type and I could just click Shadow Ball here to win, as here comes the Scarf Latios. So this actually does a decent chunk, almost 65% to a +1 Porygon Z. But Porygon Z is not very bulky, as you could tell, so I'm just going to be able to clean him up with Porygon Z, as this was definitely one of the most fun OU series I've had in a long time. I definitely think with Gen 7, I caught on a lot more quickly than a lot of people have, so I've been doing really well whenever I play in Gen 7 OU and whatnot. I still don't have a lot of fun playing OU very often, just because the meta is fine. I think with Dugtrio it'll be without Dugtrio. Why am I saying Dugtrio? Dugtrio, it'll be better. But I don't know. I guess I'm kind of in the Draft League mode again. Kind of when I get too involved with Draft League, or just really involved with Draft League, I just enjoy it so much more, and I really don't have the desire to play Smogon. But this was a really fun series. Just commentating over it reminded me how much fun I had playing this one. I always enjoy going against players that are just very good. Zamrock is an incredible player. He's one of the top Sun and Moon players in OU. Not in OU. He's one of the top Sun and Moon OU players in SPL right now. He's, I think, only got like one loss after like 5 or 6 weeks or something. So that's very impressive. And yeah, that's what was pretty cool about this, was that I was able to get a pretty clean 2-0 victory against someone of Zamrock's caliber. So very fun series, really cool teams that I was able to build and bring, in my opinion. And yeah, that means we are moving on to round 4, which is the quarterfinals, top 8. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely let me know what you guys thought in the comments of the games, the teams, whatever. And yeah, definitely just likes, comments, and subscriptions are all appreciated. I'm sorry, I'm so out of it today, guys. Hopefully this commentary wasn't too poor. But with that being said, hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I'll see you all in the next one. Later.